What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's sponsored review, I want to spend some time to talk about a project in the crypto space that's solving for one of the big bottlenecks or issues for one of the fastest growing ecosystems amongst a variety of different L1s and L2s within crypto. Today we're talking about none other than Trestle. But before we talk about Trestle and how it's aiming to build the optimal bridge for Celestia, we need to talk about Celestia. A lot of you may be hearing about Celestia for the first time. You might have seen it under its token symbol TIA. It's been really growing over the past few months and it's become one of the new emerging plays as it takes an entirely different approach from traditional L1s or L2s, which are siloed networks, and they usually don't expand beyond that, where Celestia offers something new. So let's go ahead and talk about that, and then we'll dive back into this conversation around Trestle. So for a quick primer on Celestia, why do so many people see Celestia as a big deal, and what is it really aiming to achieve from a technological perspective? Well, Celestia is the first modular blockchain network in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and to break that down even more and make it more easy to understand, Celestia is basically the first major protocol in the crypto space that allows for streamlined deployment of specialized blockchains, L2s, rollups, or app-centric chains. Essentially, if you got an idea for a network, you can streamline your deployment through Celestia. And this really solves for a big issue, because over the past couple of years, we've seen a continued growing trend where we went from having Ethereum as the only option in town, where you had to basically program in Solidity through the Ethereum virtual machine on one particular network. And that led to a massive amount of congestion. But along with that as well, it prevented a lot of new applications from hitting the forefront because Ethereum is built in a particular way. So what if we, for example, could not only streamline the deployment of more virtual environments to scale horizontally, but beyond that as well, be able to build networks that can satisfy particular needs, maybe even for one particular killer application? Well, that's what you can do with Celestia. It essentially allows for a wide range of rollups and L2s to be built directly on top of Celestia, and Celestia does a lot of the heavy lifting from consensus and keeping the track of who owns what on the ledger, and basically data availability. Now, there's a couple more resources here that could dive into explaining and understanding better what Celestia is. They have a really great kind of introduction of what Celestia is on their website, but the big benefit here is that this is where a lot of new L1, L2, or roll-up chains, as well as app-centric chains, could potentially come. Particular networks that are going to be built for single DeFi applications or entire ecosystems, all from within Celestia, that they can easily communicate with one another and reach that data availability so they know the updated state of the chain. You don't have to worry about getting consensus right. You don't have to worry about all of the rigmarole around trying to go out and build your own separate ecosystem. You can do it straight from within Celestia, and you can tailor build it to what you need. This is a really big deal. But this leads into talking about Trestle here. Now, Trestle is basically solving for one of the big friction points that has been discovered around Celestia as a network, and that is that right now it's pretty difficult to bridge any type of crypto to and from Celestia. At the moment, you mostly can only make really transfers to exchanges and a couple other siloed regions. So in order to actually reach outside of the Celestia ecosystem, which is growing and has this whole range of different plays being built on top of it, and sometimes their own individual ecosystems, we need to have a way to bridge to a lot of the existing chains out there where a lot of existing money and value is within the crypto ecosystem, predominantly in Ethereum. And that's exactly what Trestle is aiming to do. They're aiming to, at first, focus on being the key bridge between Ethereum and Celestia, allowing you to essentially streamline bridging your TIA, the main currency of the Celestia ecosystem, and all of its subnets and essentially networks on top of Celestia, and being able to bridge it to Ethereum and back. So as many of you know, bridging protocols are focused on this core concept, allowing liquidity to seamlessly move and as minimal cost as possible between one network to the other. Now, the key thing here is simple. At the end of the day, if you're optimistic on Celestia as a network, I think from a fundamental perspective, you should be pretty optimistic about some of the bridging tools that are going to help in this way and help towards further adoption of Celestia and removing those friction points. So now that we have a good understanding of what Trestle is solving for, let's talk about the fine details. things. The first thing you need to understand here is that with the creation of Trestle, we're also creating a wrapped version of TIA, or WTIA. This basically is going to be an equivalent amount of TIA that you might have living on Celestia that you're able to bridge over to the Ethereum blockchain. So you can utilize it on Uniswap, you can utilize it maybe on protocols like Compound or Aave, and a whole range of different DeFi applications out there in the market. And what's great about this is that it's going to allow people in the Ethereum ecosystem on DEXs to be able to purchase a 1-to-1 backed TIA token that later on they could also take on and bridge over towards Celestia if they so choose to. But again, they can live entirely on the Ethereum ecosystem. But beyond that as well, it may be that there are people who have their TIA existing on the Celestia network and they want to utilize it in Ethereum applications. So it goes hand in hand here. It benefits both users who may want to get access to the token or put their token to work. Beyond this as well, there's obviously the core bridge in this case, where Trestle is using their interstellar bridge to be able to swap easily between TIA and ETH across networks. And outside of that as well, you've also got the ability to earn with wrapped TIA. So outside of obviously using it in maybe, for example, a DeFi protocol, providing liquidity on an order book like an AMM like Uniswap, there's also the ability to earn through the protocol. So they're going to be giving accrued earnings from the bridge towards those who are holding the, essentially holding the Trestle token. And along with that as well, there's going to be eventually the Trestle chain. And their objectives with Trestle chain long term is to serve as an incubator within the Celestia ecosystem for new emerging projects moving into Celestia's tech stack. And I think that this is really interesting because it showcases that Trestle is not just building a bridge, a one-off application, albeit bridging is going to be very important for Celestia to survive long term and thrive. But beyond that, it's also going to allow for them to be further embedded and offer more services that further make them a larger player within the Celestia ecosystem. So definitely it gives it reason to at least keep an eye on what the Trestle team is continuing to do. But we can already see from a biz dev perspective, a lot of the partnerships and announcements they've put out, they've already partnered with the largest liquid staking derivative platform within the Celestia ecosystem, which is Milky Way. Now, for those who don't know, for staking networks like Celestia, where you can earn staking rewards on your Celestia when they are staked properly. You also can utilize a variety of protocols to have liquid staking derivatives. So essentially, these allow you to have liquidity on your staked assets and utilize them in other means throughout the crypto ecosystem. So again, I think this is really exciting to see that out the gate, they've already got this partnership with Milky Way. And along with that as well, they're also working with Caldera, which is going to allow for further adoption of wrapped TIA on the Arbitrum network. So there's a lot of business development going on, a lot of great partnerships being formed, and I think they're all definitely noteworthy to showcase that Trestle's aiming to really be the leader within this respect of being the core bridge between other L1s and the Celestia network. Now, if you're curious to kind of go beyond what we talked about here today, if you want to learn a little bit more about Trestle's tokenomics, if you want to look into how the bridge actually functions from a security perspective, and maybe get a better understanding of Celestia as a network beyond the description we gave today, I definitely recommend you guys check out the docs section. I mean, there's a lot of great resources online, on YouTube as well, talking about these two networks, but I think the docs section is going to really give you a nice structured onboarding and understanding what they're building. And, you know, from an investment perspective, guys, while I'm not going to sit here and do TA here and tell you where I think the price is going, it's really only traded for a short period of time, so we don't have too much to work with there. I think at the end of the day here, it's a $10 million protocol, and I think the big thing you have to focus on, and the real question you have to answer, is whether or not you're optimistic on Celestia, and you're optimistic on that transition of liquidity into the Celestia ecosystem and people building more applications there, getting more optimistic on the narrative of a modular blockchain network, and a lot of the new L2s or rollups that would have been deployed as their own separate ecosystems being built on Celestia. So I think it's a long-term bet alongside the protocol. And what I like at least seeing here is that the project has locked up a large amount of liquidity on the protocol utilizing UNCX network, which is one of the projects we've covered back in the past. It's a liquidity locker, so I like seeing this kind of stuff here. It's a good check and balance here on chain. You can have that verified. But again, it's your decision, guys. I definitely recommend you guys take a further look in the project. And I'm interested to see how not only Trestle continues to grow, but also the broader Celestia ecosystem. I've been keeping an eye on it for some time, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out in 2024. If the modular future of blockchain networks really plays out, or if we continue to be in this world where there's tons of fractured L1s and L2s that, you know, don't really communicate well with one another. I think Celestia's got a pretty good chance at shaking up the game. Now we're going to see how that plays out in the coming year. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you enjoyed this review, consider dropping a like. Make sure to check out the links down below in the description if you want to learn more about Trestle as a project. I'll leave some resources down and below in the description. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day wherever you are. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.